Hi, and thank you for watching TargetedWest.com's work group about V2K synthetic telepathy like I get and others in my group. We study it and we try to figure out what's going on. It is an advanced physics type technology that's hard to explain. When you tell people that you have telepathy, they put you on medication or put you in a mental hospital, because society is not ready for fourth industrial revolution, exotic technologies, and the fifth generation warfare, which is asymmetrical and involves city-states and world locations. My name is DJ Chris. Today is the 18th of June. It's a Sunday call. This is show number 64. And if you're watching me on YouTube, BitChute, or archive.org, go ahead and make a comment, click like, subscribe, please. That helps the algorithm, helps get the word out. I'm here in beautiful Lodi, California. I'm not a violent person, nor am I spewing out violence. I am not a patriot, but I'm patriotic. I'm not left or right wing. I'm apolitical, and I'm just here to try to figure out why we have this telepathy in our heads. And I've met many people on the calls that have the same thing, and they all have a story very close to mine. So it's not like we're all crazy, which is what they want you to believe, but we are actually experiencing a technology that's being used on us, using our body resonance, using remote detection type software and antennas and different devices, be it maybe satellite, low orbiting satellites, cell towers, antennas, your electricity, it could be anything. So anyway, today we're talking about remote neural monitoring. People usually don't bring it up. They always bring up V2K. Well, V2K is part of remote neural monitoring. And, of course, remote neural monitoring itself is just remote EEG technology, is all it is. They make it sound fancy, remote neural monitoring. Hey, Frank. Frank Allen's in the house. Check out Frank Allen every Wednesday and Friday at Targeted Mass. His ID is Targeted. Mine's TargetedWest. His is Targeted, so check him out every Wednesday and Friday. And we were talking about where'd you go? Whoops, that's not what I wanted. I was going to take you off mute, Frank, and see how you're doing. If you want to go off mute, if you'll let me. Where'd you go? Being finicky today. But anyway, Frank Allen has talked about this technology, and many others have too. It is a technology that's been around for a while. My father had it. I believe my grandmother had it. There weren't cell phone towers back then, and there weren't very many satellites back then. So you discount those two things, and you only have very few ways of communicating to a human being through their resonance. And so how are they doing it? Is it through electricity? That's probably a possibility. Electricity can run frequencies other than the power. The power is at one frequency. And it runs at what's in the United States at 60 hertz. So that's a frequency. So you can run other frequencies on the same electrical system, and I've known for a fact that some electric power companies use communication systems where they plug into the power and communicate with the main station through the power line. Matter of fact, I had a speaker that was like that. I'd plug it in one room and put the audio and input into another, and it would go through the electricity, and that was in the 80s. But remote neural monitoring, of course, is a technology in order to monitor all your thoughts, the way you move your body, um, your motor skills, of course, your communication and everything. Creates an electrical signal, which creates a microwave signal in your brain. And that signal in your brain signals do give off just enough electricity for signals intelligence to pick you up, which is probably how they do it, signals intelligence. They get your brain signature, they lock you in like a cell phone, and then that's it. You're locked into the remote neural monitoring. They probably watch you at first before they talk. I don't think everybody can get V2K, which is voice to skull or telepathy. That's where you're talking to somebody, a two-way communication. I really believe that it can only work on some certain people. And my off-the-wall guess is that only certain people have enough brain frequency power to be picked up, and some people's brains don't transmit as powerfully, which may correlate to the brain skull size, meaning someone with a bigger skull would resonate differently in their brain, which would make the remote neural monitoring work better. We were talking about how they get your DNA resonance in the first place. Some people speculate that, I got the chat room going. Some people speculate that they get your DNA from your garbage. Oh, hey, no worries. I'm not going to plug you in. I'll let you kick back there, Frank. But they can go through your garbage and get your DNA off of a cup, off of a razor, a tissue, a soda can, personal hygiene items. I mean, the police do it all. How do you think the police caught the Golden State Killer? They went through his garbage can. And how they hunted him down was through his DNA, through a person that was related to him on one of the DNA sites. So you don't think DNA is not powerful enough to be able to be tuned into, and then your resonance picks up just enough for signals intelligence to monitor you? Well, that's what remote neural monitoring is. And if you want a so-called expert to describe it to you in more detail than I can, I have posted Dr. Catherine Horton's video that she did about 6 years ago about remote neural monitoring, and it's on my Twitter page at TI-Club3. You can't miss it. She's got foil behind her, and she explains it quite eloquently, so you can go and get further information on remote neural monitoring. Matter of fact, believe it or not, this whole vocabulary we have in the TI community is now in search engines. I did a search for remote neural monitoring, and it came up with a bunch of information. It told me on Google about remote neural monitoring, so they're literally not hiding it now. And they say the reason they use it is to detect crime, which is interesting because that's all my telepathy talks about is crime. So that's what they're using it for. They're going around and picking up people's brain resonance to see if they're criminals, because they're too lazy and they can't do it correctly, and they can't build a case, and they can't put enough people together long enough to stick together to put somebody in jail. They don't go after the criminals. They go after people that are new, especially people with money, with attorneys and stuff they can do, take in civil asset forfeiture, which is what they tried to do with me, try and take my house after the Patriot Act was signed. So, but they got my brain resonance back then, and that's how I get my telepathy. And they can read through my eyes. They know what I'm saying. They can hear through my ears. Don't you believe that it's possible that you can actually use a remote EEG on someone? I mean, I don't see how you've lived with these remote controls in your living room all these years, and you don't think that there's a powerful version of a signals intelligence receiver out there somewhere that picks up brain signatures? How could that not be real? Think about it. If you want to control a human, if you want to control the world, you control the mind, you control the brain. And that's the ultimate domain for them, is controlling and reading people's thoughts to look for crime detection. This is basically a Minority Report version of brain reading. It's for pre-crime, and that's what they're doing. I know they did it with me. I know it's part of the DOJ in my case, because the dummies in my head told me about the fact that one of the sheriff's departments locally were involved. So I put two and two together. So they're using remote neural monitoring to make up crimes. They make up crimes that I did. They make up stories. They'll do anything to keep the funding going. This is a continuation of the war on terror. They go after people who are mentally disabled and try to set them up to put them in prison. The certain DOJ police force, the FBI, does that. Did you see that article recently where they went after a mentally challenged 18-year-old and put him in prison because the FBI informant told him he was ISIS? So you don't think they're going to hack your brain? You don't think they would do that? You really don't think that if an organization or the criminal forces in this world, like the syndicate or the government or governments around the world, you don't think they would want to hack your brain? Of course they would. That's the ultimate goal, is to find out what people are thinking. Can you imagine how many different industries would change overnight if they knew what their customers thought instantly? That's what they're doing, and that's what they want, and they're going to use you for it. And there's many people who are in the same boat with remote neural monitoring. And like I said, Dr. Catherine Horton explains it better than I do. I think it's a good video, and it's only about a half an hour long. But like I said, this is mainstream now. This isn't being hidden. Remote neural monitoring, RNM, is on Google with plenty of websites to refer to. So if you have a depressed day and you don't think things are going to get better, just think of the fact that it's going mainstream, because once it does, the word's going to get out, and it's going to just take a percentage of the world to know about it before it becomes kitchen table discussion and gets shut down. Trust me, it will get shut down. My telepathy tells me it's totally legal what they're doing to me, and I know it is because there are no real laws that cover electronic harassment via the brain or hacking the brain. There are no laws. There was the Dennis Kucinich law, but that got shut down. And there's not been one law about using satellites and technology as a weapon. And they shut him down. Do you think someone else is going to get that passed? No, because this is part of the war industrial complex, the military industrial complex, the fourth industrial revolution, fifth generation warfare. The domain is in the brain, like Giordano says. This is the domain. They want to get in the enemy's brain, so they know what his next moves will be on the theater for the war. So that's what this is all about. It's a war technology to read your brain. And I know it's hard to believe if you're new at watching my videos, but it's true. And I'm not the only one. And they go after all sorts of different people from different backgrounds and life experiences. So it's not like it's one type of person they go after. It's anyone, and everyone gets accused of being a criminal, even old ladies, because it's a law and order system. And it's also a sex and death system. They go out to spend trillions of dollars just so they can basically manipulate your sexual organs and make you have lust feelings when you don't need it or don't want it, which is a form of rape. It's remote rape, and they spent all that money just so they could touch your privates. That's how sick and demented these people are, because they know that is what would interrupt a war fighter, is if he had sexual feelings that were so lustful that it would break him down. He wouldn't be able to perform, and that's what they do. It's sex and death and law and order. So next topic, it's now 6:14. This is DJ Chris, and wow, we got a packed house. It's looking good. Um, Chat room's going good. We got Huggy Bear in here. We got Targeted Mass. We got Caller OO. Everybody's in. Ann from St. Louis. Next is something everybody can relate to, and that's planned obsolescence. True Stream Media just posted a video that I posted on my TI Club 3 page on Twitter for you to review. And if you don't have Twitter, you can go to YouTube and look for True Stream Media, and they'll have that current video listed about how things break nowadays. And, you know, things 40 years ago are still running, but things they made in the last 10 or 20 years are all broken. You know, they're making the planned obsolescence used to be where Chevrolet would come out with a brand new design with a better engine. But now, they put fault or failure into the design so it breaks. That would be more like a planned demise. I know, caller, it's unbelievable. I had a refrigerator that worked perfectly, but it made horrible noises. And all the equipment they made now in the last few years has been nothing but junk, and you have to keep replacing things every 5 years. Then an example of a gigantic home development, and these homes are brand new, and some of the systems like the air conditioning were already breaking down because they weren't basically sufficient enough for the house for the size, and they would wear out. Washers and dryers wear out, coffee makers wear out, whereas you'd have a coffee maker that lasts forever. You know, you're going down to the Target or wherever, getting one every 2 years now, and it's all Chinese junk. I don't want to put blame on the Chinese, but you have to blame Nixon and Kissinger, which we're going to talk about Kissinger tonight in the book club. And they started this whole China thing, and China is the king of obsolescence, but they're doing failure in design. Obsolescence means you want to get something better and newer, like the iPhone. That's planned obsolescence. That I can accept, but planned failure, that's just evil. To, you know, the day the warranty wears out, the thing breaks, and there's no recourse. And the prices they're charging for stuff nowadays is unbelievable. So that's an article you might be interested in. And let's see what I wrote. Yeah, planned obsolescence and the plan to own nothing. True Stream Media. It's a video that's out right now. I know, it's I can't believe the garbage that's made nowadays. I have a quick blurb on TI Club 3 called about qualified immunity, and that's what police have when they shoot somebody, so don't get sued. And that's from the Institute of Justice. It's a nice little article that explains how that works. I don't know how I got into that channel, but I did. Let's see if I'm doing the book club on time. I think I did 6:15 for the book club, so we're on time on the book club for once. That's a start. So if you're in the TI Book Club, which is at bookclubs.com/TI Book Club/join/ you can join today for free. We have 56 members. A guy named Steve joined today. Sent me an email, or no, Daniel Shell sent me an email, and he's a member now, so we're up to 56. We gained 20 members in one day. I put a big rocket out with information about the book club, and I did a spread everywhere, and everybody signed up. So I always make sure that something happens every day at the book club. I will post something, read a piece of a book, or buy a new book, or change out what's for the next TI Book Club meeting. The TI Book Club meeting, of course, is the first of its kind. Other people have tried TI Book Clubs before, but they've never turned out. Mine started as a thread of emails back in 2016 where we were all exchanging books. And I saw that Amazon was starting book clubs, and when I started this call, I signed up with Amazon, and I waited and waited and waited, and they never did it. So I found out about bookclubs.com, which used to be with a Z, and I signed up with them, and they're pretty cool, except they said I had free benefits, but when I went to use the free benefit, it said I had to upgrade, so they're full of poop. But the book club gets action every day. You can add your own books, your own comments. You can add books to books we want to read. You can send messages. It's all there on the book club channel. And it's live and happening all the time. And there's free books, there's audiobooks, there's Kindle books, there's hard copies, and they're usually under $15 is the rule. And you get to meet friends and read about books about the targeted technology and everything associated with it. I try to give a variety of books that are associated with the targeting, which is like things to do to make yourself feel better, like grounding or aromatherapy. So, you know, it's a little fun in it too. So the book club's definitely worth joining. Today we're talking about Henry Kissinger's Shadow, which is on Amazon right now. Henry Kissinger just turned 100. It's called The Long Reach of the America's Most Controversial Statesman. And it's Henry Kissinger, who went straight from Harvard to Nixon's cabinet, and within a couple months blew up Cambodia. He blew Cambodia up for 5 years, and he kept it from Congress, and he kept it out of the news media because all of his friends knew him in media because he was savvy, and he kept all that a secret until it all came out in the open. And people kind of had a disdain for him for a while, and then every time there's a new administration in the government or a new world dictator or whomever, he's right there talking to them. He shows right up. He could be involved with AIDS. He could have created that during Nixon's regime because he wanted a virus that would kill useless eaters, he said himself. He smirked when they blew up Cambodia. Very disgusting. He's turned 100 years old, and he's still giving people advice. And I will guarantee you he's trying to give advice for the war in Ukraine. I would not doubt that one bit. So I'm on about page 150 in the book, and it describes all his relationships with people, and he also recorded all his meetings and phone calls, so that went to bite him in the butt when they were trying to go after Nixon, because he had recorded all the conversations. He knew about the plumbers and the CIA event and all that. So, but he was the Teflon guy and just doesn't seem to ever get caught in anything. So, yeah, he's been around for a while. Oh, no problem, Nancy. You're welcome. We're just talking about Henry Kissinger, your favorite dude. So that's the TI Book Club. I also wanted to tell you on this call and recording for the record that I bought a book called The New Cold War, and it's about Ukraine, China, and Russia and the United States. And it's on Amazon, and I bought it, and I tried to add it to the book club, and for some reason, it's blocking it. It's not allowing me to add that book. So I'm unable to put it in the book club, current read, or anything. So it's censoring is basically what's going on. They're starting to censor the books. They're starting to censor links. They're censoring the ability to post a book from Amazon on a different site. It's definitely a form of hijacking. It's censoring like they're doing with other books. And this is a fairly new book. It's only had one review. So it was on Democracy Now! And they have a whole article, a whole video about it. So you could go there and read about the book. It's on YouTube under Democracy Now! And it's called The New Cold War. And it's a blue book with black lettering. And they are censoring it from the book club. You heard it first. And that's the New Cold War Democracy Now! Video. We're going to switch to open mic and let you talk. Okay, if you want to talk and make a comment about my topics, hit *6 and come on in. It's open mic. You're listening to TargetedWest.com. And this is DJ Chris.
Hey, Chris. Hey, it's Katie Peterson. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Katie. Come on in.
Hi. Hi, DJ Chris. So good to chat with you. Right when I tuned in tonight, you were talking about the electric companies and how they're affecting our neuroweapons that are placed on us. I can give 2,000% confirmation that happens to me here in New Orleans. The electricity's underground here, and the main company that works on the boxes is named Entergy, Entergy, and they go from Texas to Louisiana, and that's where the tie is. So when I go to Texas to Louisiana, I'm tied into Entergy, and they have sensors without a shadow of a doubt. They know where I am at every second of the day. And when these big, huge electrical boxes blow, they work on it. And on their work truck, they have all the flashing lights that go in the rhythm of our V2K and Havana Syndrome. And they can raise it and they'll change it to a different beat. And it's how so they work in conjunction with the police departments, the first responders, the fire department, the EMS, and then I guess the military too with the military judge. But there is the electricity companies and the mobile companies are definitely involved all together. And without a shadow of a doubt, Entergy is a terrorist organization, and I can stand by that. And these men sit here and watch me be tortured and slowly murdered on a daily basis without any regard to who I am as a person. So I think that's
you're right. PG&E's like that too. PG&E's Pacific Gas and Electric, and they've killed people with their neglectful lines that haven't been maintained. All those fires happen because of them. They're the only corporation to be up for murder.
Yep. Well, I'm sure Entergy will be next, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, did you know almost every utility company is owned by Rothschild Holdings?
I know. I do know that. So we have to go.
That's why that's why they do what they do.
Yeah. Well, we have to as a group now. We have to find an angle in there, think out of the box, and find something different that people aren't going after. Figure out some little thing, and then put up with it.
So, Katie, I have here on open mic an opinion session now. We're going to do opinions, and I'm giving my opinion today about the Dr. Greer in his video, and I talked to caller 00, and I don't want to go out on a limb, but I'm going to say Dr. Greer may be a CIA asset, and this whole UFO story stuff is all CIA ops. That's what it seems like to me. Do you care to comment on that?
It is absolutely. You're right in line. And I have a personal friend that I met in Boerne, Texas, which is right out of San Antonio, Texas, where I was born and raised in San Antonio, and I won't talk long, but to give you the background, Alma Heights is known for an old money area, and Olmsted Park is known for an old money area, and they were renowned for having UFO sightings. And it was down the street called Patterson, and it's where all these big, beautiful, multi-million-dollar houses are. And it's been, since I was a child, UFOs were known to be there. And then I met a woman in Boerne after my targeting, and she shared her life story with me. She said that she was kidnapped by what she, to this day, believes are aliens. And they messed with her mind. They tortured her body. And then it went on for years. And when she's telling me your story, I'm going, well, that's the software. Here we go. Here's the Havana syndrome software. Here's the direct energy weaponry software. Here's the dream software. But emotionally, she's not prepared to hear that. But she would have black helicopters go all over her house, stop, drop down, and then in her sleep would actually take her somewhere else, come into her house and take her away. But she really believed it was the UFOs. The CIA had something to do with saving her life. She no longer gets harassed, and it's been nearly about 10 years that she hasn't been harassed. But they tortured her relentlessly with this technology that is all on us, and we as targets understand it inside out. But when they go in as a UFO victim, they mess with their mind and drug them so badly in the visuals that they show them in the videos. And they're doing all this weird torture at the same time. They really believe it's aliens and UFOs. Yeah, so you're exactly right. But she's finally got her life back. They don't mess with her at all. But will she ever be the lively, happy, wonderful woman that she was before then? Probably not. But she is a very good woman that didn't deserve to go through that. But that just shows what San Antonio and Boerne area does to innocent people.
Are there any Air Force or military nuclear bases near that area where the aliens come?
Oh, yeah. San Antonio is, Texas is totally military. San Antonio is huge. You have everything. You have Randolph Air Force. You have Brooks Army. You have it all there. Everything's there. So, yeah. And that's where, Houston is where the Neurophone, in Bel Air where I lived, the Neurophone, the Fry Neurophone was developed by Fry.
Yeah, Patrick
R-E-Y.
In 1958.
Yeah. In 1958. So that was Bel Air, Texas. So Texas is a heavy, heavy, heavy military state. And that's why it's one of the top states for torture and with this technology, and it's also one of the most corrupt states because of the way everything's set up with InterGuard, and they have the most fusion centers and the most Masonic lodges.
Speaking of fusion centers, I saw your letter you sent to Louisiana Fusion Center.
Oh, yeah, because I was getting so harassed. And we all know I already know the answer, but I sent it in writing. And for the audience, I wrote a letter the other night to the Fusion Center here in Louisiana, asking them a very simple question. Do they work in conjunction with other states? And I said, it is my understanding that fusion centers are the ones that help with first responders, meaning police, firemen, and EMS services, and aiding when there's someone in need or there's an emergency. Well, no matter which answer they give, it's going to be wrong. So I'm putting them in a corner so it goes on record so that I have something in writing. If they're helping with other states, then that helps with my human trafficking case. If they're not working in conjunction with other states, they're lying, because then it can be proved that they've contacted other people, like when I was in Florida. I flew from New Orleans to Florida last week to see Dr. Michael Hoffer for my Havana syndrome testing. and there was, people were surrounding me all over the place. And someone got into my hotel room and got into my stuff. Never in Europe, when I go travel Europe, do I ever get broken into. That doesn't matter what home I'm in or what hotel I go in, I get broken into. So there was communication from New Orleans to Florida. So they have to give me an answer. If they say no, they're lying. If they say yes, well, then that disproves that how this works, that how the network system works on this, and how other states will go in and mix and harm us with the technology.
Yeah, I'm sure they communicate. I'm sure they communicate with each other.
Oh yeah, they do. Absolutely. And it's just like the transportation. The transportation system. You have one sheriff contacting another sheriff to say they're on, Highway 10 right now at exit 95 or whatever you want to say, 610 at exit 28, whatever. And they know exactly where you are, and they can monitor you from the camera.
All for the safety of the world. I mean, the state, the country, yeah. Isn't that lovely?
Isn't it lovely? Yeah.
The war on terror.
I have got, the war on terror is really harsh, and I got brutally, and this is an understatement, attacked while I was at Dr. Hoffer's office. So they attacked that whole entire building and parking lot, which means everybody in that building was harmed. And my cyber criminals, my human traffickers, whatever legal name you want to give it, I'm with Aetna Health Insurance. The first time I went there, y'all know I went there a couple of weeks ago, and I went in for hearing. That was my foot into the door, my foot into the door to see Dr. Hoffer. So, because I didn't go through a neurosurgeon to get advice to go see him for Havana syndrome. So we went in that route. If they can hear my hearing and they can see that something was placed in my ear, or, I'm picking up and my ears are burned, like the symptoms of Havana syndrome, then he can recommend me instantly to go in for testing for Havana syndrome. Well, insurance approved it, gave the approval code, no problem. It was approved like 3+ months for me before I arrived. So then I had to come back for my next testing because they're like, yep, Havana syndrome's here. And they wanted to do like 20 tests that all go into hearing, on the hearing side of Havana syndrome. Well, Aetna came back and said, oh, no, we don't cover any doctors out of the state of Texas. So Dr. Hoffer's billing department and I fought on the phone for over 5+ hours. And it wasn't really Aetna Insurance I'm talking to. It's our cyber criminals that are on there. So we fought with them. Finally, I got what is called a gap extension and got it approved. But they fought so much, it was by the end of the day. This was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when they finally approved what is called a gap extension, meaning they would approve all the stuff, but they would have to send an approval letter, which could take up to 2 weeks to get to the doctor's office. So my perps were trying to prevent me from getting that Havana syndrome testing. Fortunately, Dr. Hoffer is very kind, and he says, do you have $95 on you today? And I go, yep. He says, give me that, and we're going to go do some hearing tests real quick before the end of the day, because the office was closing. So we did that, and he goes, oh, my God. He says, can you come back tomorrow? And I go, absolutely. He says, we're putting the goggles on you right now for Havana syndrome. What I've seen, the technology that's going through you, you have to get those goggles on immediately. So he went ahead and did that for me. So we've done all the testing with the technology. And I asked him, I said, will the goggles show the technology in my eyes? And he goes, oh, it's going to show so much more than that. And he just smiled. So we did that, and it's going to take 2 weeks to get those results. So then I have to go back again. So I haven't had the energy to fight with Aetna Insurance right now. So I'll start fighting Monday or Tuesday because I just have not had the time to sit on the phone for hours and hours and hours. But the billing department said that they have, and one woman had been there like, I don't know, 10, 12 years, said she's never experienced what we went through ever in the history of her billing work with Dr. Hoffer, ever, the fight that she went through. And I go, welcome to my world. This is what I deal with 24/7. I said, nothing is simple and cut and dry with me. It's always a fight and a hold up. She goes, oh my gosh. She says, I cannot. And I said, this is how cybercrime works. And I said, this, and she goes, I feel for you. But she fought. So we got together, which is a good thing. But I have to go back to Miami again. So this will be my 4th visit to Dr. Hoffer. But what he found is linked into, he looked at my ears and said, these people are the most cruel people I've ever experienced. When the other doctor that's on the floor, she was horrified at the burns inside my ear canal. And I said, I have the Vanna syndrome. I said that I came in this way. And her eyes teared up. She was like, I'm so sorry. And I think I said it on your show, but I'll say it again for other listeners. You know how you can read someone and you can know what they're thinking by their body mannerism? She sat there and her eyes teared up, and she just looked at me, and then she just really looked at me, and you could see that she says, oh, my God, this girl's getting ready to die. And that's when they started pushing to get me all the testing. And I said, it's vital I get this testing. I said, even if it's not for, save my life, at least it will be on record to save everybody else's life, because it will be in black and white, and it will show who's doing this and that how the network works to harm everybody else. And it can save other lives. And she totally got it immediately when I made that statement. She says, absolutely.
That's incredible. Does anybody have any questions for Katie?
Well, if y'all know, I can talk all night. So if someone wants to talk, I will be quiet, or I can talk all, the whole time.
That's fine. There's not anything planned tonight anyway. I just had a couple of opinions, but they're controversial, and I think I'm going to not talk about them. I just brought up the Dr. Greer as a CIA asset.
I have a couple of people up on the observation deck of the Omni Hotel in New Orleans in the French Quarter, and it's incredibly beautiful up here. And I came up here, and no one ever comes up here, ever. I'm always up here by myself, and because I'm on this call now, there's 3 people up here.
Yeah, I used to have a place in San Francisco that served Irish coffee, and they had an upstairs no one knew about with wing chairs, and I used to sit and look out the window.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so I went on a helicopter ride last week. I did a 30-minute helicopter ride over the city, which was amazing. So I got to see everything. And I do all these tourist things because I like to mess with, as you know, our perps want to keep us on a very little path. They want to keep you in home. They want to keep you close to home. They basically want you to go to the grocery store and stay home. And that's what they really like. They don't want you to travel. They don't want you to go all over because of the way that all the system works. So that then when they set up the software,
it works best when you're isolated. Yes.
Right. It works best when you're isolated. Well, I go through the city. I go through everything, and I change it up. And of course, it messes with the system. It breaks the system. But they also try to attack you harder when you go back into the area where home is, or your little area where you frequent. So I went up in a helicopter knowing that would show that technology was on that helicopter. We already know that it harms airport personnel, and it harms planes, commercial planes. They've already been on the news and said direct energy weaponry, Havana syndrome, neuroweapons, cyber weapons, harm technology, and put too much radiation through a plane for any human being to absorb. So I went up on that helicopter ride, and it was so much fun. But it also will have tracked that there was direct energy weapon on that plane, and he caters specifically to tourists. So there was another couple with me and it was like their honeymoon or their anniversary. It was just a romantic time for them. And so they were harmed too. So not only was the pilot harmed, that small airport harmed, but those people. So it's very important to know wherever you go that your cyber criminals, your terrorists that are attacking anybody that you can see as far as you can see. And that's just unacceptable, and that's why we have to fight to get this technology out, not only for us, but for everybody else.
Chris, I have a question. A question for Katie. You mentioned that they took things out. Dr. Hoffer took things out of your ears. I heard that it was something like nanotechnology. Do you know what was taken out of your ears?
Yeah, well, interesting. He took about it. A lot of the they with the way that the cuts are in my ears and the burns, they burn. Well, I know this sounds gross, but they have actually drilled holes through my skull. And there's a diagram that Dr. Lynn Bear and I have on our Twitter account, and it shows where they put the holes through our skull and through our jaws and through our bones. And when they do, they actually heat water or shampoo or nanogels through my skull, and then it builds up and burns in my ear canal. So they cut that out and they removed it, and they were horrified to see what it was, and they were going to run tests on it. This time, Dr. Hoffer was actually trying to remove whatever metal is in my body, like a microphone or a metal ball or a nanochip, and he was trying to remove it. And he worked on like half an hour trying to remove it, and he was like so frustrated because the way that it was burned in, it's like they burned it and then they built scar tissue around it. And he was so worried to go any further because he was worried he was going to cause me more hearing damage. So he had to stop. So he's still planning to remove it, but he's going to have to go a different way. So, like, I don't know if I'm going to have to go into surgery or he's going to use some different techniques. And then, so he told me to use hydrogen. But he could see it was like, and I asked him, is it a microphone? Is it a metal ball? Is it a nanochip? What is it? And he said, until I pull it out, he says, I can't give you 100% verification. He said, but these people are just sickeningly cruel, whoever these are. And once, they start doing all the testing, they'll see, he'll get exactly who's doing what for the Havana syndrome. And, they get the location, they get the user's name, and they, what organization. They get it all. They get all the information. It goes onto record.
So he found like a nanochip inside of your ear canal? Correct.
It moves around. I have like 4 that move. And the best way I can say is they're like round metal balls, and they move around. So he was trying to pull it out, the main problem one. The other ones, they were too far down. But he wanted, like, there was one specific one he was determined to get removed. And the doctor that I had seen 2 weeks before tried to remove it. And then she says, I'm going to let Dr. Hoffer do this. And so
the nanochip, is it like a microchip or what is it, a nanochip?
Well, there are microphones. That's how they do the recording of, like, anytime I speak, it gets recorded. And then they can actually play it right back instantly. So if anything I say gets recorded, and anything you say, like this whole conversation that's between us, they're actually recording your voice, and they can play it back just like a recording, and play it right back in a loop, and go back. And it's really scary how this technology is used. So there's definitely
the tiny microphones, that like tiny microphones that you found.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's the microphone. I'm hoping it is, because I think if they remove the microphone, that's going to get rid of a lot of my problems. Because if they can't hear anything, and then he's going to mess with it where they can't see anything, because they have the technology in my eyes where they look through my eyes, then that will help me a little bit. But
Katie, I have a real. I'm sorry to interrupt. I have a real important question about my eyes. I'm a longtime TI, and my eyes are so abused, I can't visualize in my mind anymore, and I don't know how to get any help for it. Do you think Dr. Hoffer would see me? I wouldn't know how to make an appointment.
Yeah, someone wrote me and asked how in the world I got to Dr. Hoffer. I've been trying to get to Dr. Hoffer for 3 years.
Yeah.
And every time I've made a phone call, it was my perps, my organized terrorists, cyber criminals, pretending, impersonating Dr. Hoffer's office. And they would, my phone call would go into their system, and then they would pretend to be them. So finally, one day, I was somewhere different, and I just made the phone call, and I got to them. It was the first time ever I got directly to them. And, the requirements, you must have health insurance. If you have health insurance, call your health insurance and see if Dr. Hoffer's in your network. And he's with almost every health insurance plan out there. And if you have health insurance for Havana syndrome, if you go in, he does 2 different ways. He does Havana syndrome, and he does direct energy weaponry testing. So there's 2 different ways. I found out if you want to go in as a Havana syndrome victim, at first time, you have to be referred by a neurosurgeon. So we thought out of the box, and I said, well, I said, does he test for hearing and technology in my ears? And they go, yes. And I said, can I go in for having my hearing checked? So that's how I got in to his office. But I had to wait over 3 months, but I didn't care because it took me 3 years to finally get through. And they are so nice and so professional there that I'm trying to figure out a way to move to Florida to make Dr. Hoffer my main primary doctor, so that I can be checked on all the time. So that's my hope and goal. Then, because everything he does stands up in a court of law, and he got those diplomats' money. And now things are coming out where our U.S. government and our military is starting to have to admit that they are harming us and torturing us with technology that should not be on any living human person ever. So, So I would, do you have health insurance?
Unfortunately, I succumbed to Medicaid, but I could get health insurance just to have myself checked out.
Yes.
I woke up with...
that's what I did.
Yes.
That's what I did.
Woke up, I woke up with an outrageous high-tech harassment in 1995. And I'm very
1995 is a big year about this technology.
Yeah.
It's a huge year.
I was one of those people, and I have a lot of physiological damage and to my brain. And I was planning on getting a brain spec. I've got an abnormal MRI, but the neuro in the hospital, they wouldn't be level with me. They didn't want to talk about it. They just wanted me to get tested and label me. So I got the idea of getting a brain spec that literally shows the areas of your brain that are damaged. And I'm a visual. And Amy Holm says that I have a chip on my right under my eyelid.
I have him all surrounding my eyes. and they try to move him around underneath, behind your eyes, and around your eye socket of the skull. My eyes are lined with it, with chips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but get
I
insurance.
don't know how to get help.
Yeah. So get good insurance. It takes a month usually for it to kick in. And then the day that you get it, make the call to Dr. Hoffer, excuse me. And that was my purpose doing the EEG board where they do the. I have every technology you can think of or know of. I have on me. So, and my purpose like to try to force. It's called forced speech for people that don't know, and they try to force words out for you to say the incorrect word. So. That's just what happened to me just now. So, yes, Dr. Hoffer is great. He has a big staff, and they're all incredibly professional, and they understand this technology that's on us. They're not scared to be around us, and they're incredibly professional, and they have all the equipment to test us. But you have to figure out how to get in source and go in for hearing, like I did, and then they will test you. I mean, they put this long tube in my ear that picked up on the tone immediately, and they had the software, and they took me to different rooms and did different testing to pick up. And they asked me what and I said I have synthetic telepathy, I have Havana syndrome, I have V2K, and they asked me if I heard words. Well, I didn't trust, because it was my first time in there. I didn't trust the doctors enough yet, So I told them I didn't hear words. So I said I hear everything else, like what the diplomats do, the tones, the screeching, the odd noises, things like that. Now that I've gone back and they know me and they know that I'm getting ready to die, and they're acknowledging that, and they know that I seriously need some help, and it's very vital that I get documented. I will tell them once we get the hearing tests. I will tell them. Well, they'll hear it with all the tests that they're going to run. But I didn't tell the nurses that, because you never know. You go in, if you don't know at first chance, they're gauging you to see how mentally stable you are, and if you're conspiracy theory or you're nuts and bonkers, or of course I passed everything. They knew I was professional, smart, and sane, and then they ran the test and they saw it right away, and you could see that they were very bothered at how bad the technology and how much technology was on me. And it made them move forward for me.
Very good. Just to let you know, we're going to shut the recording off in 2 minutes. We're talking with Katie, and she's got people asking questions. So this will be recorded and put on BitChute, YouTube, and archive.org. And if you're watching the video on your preferred platform, please like and subscribe and make a comment. I'll let Katie know that you responded to her, and she can help you with advice with Dr. Hoffer. Anyway, 2 more minutes left in the recording. This is DJ Chris, and thank you for everybody for participating. We'll have a call again next week. Of course, we have 1 more hour left of open mic, but we'll stop the recording in a couple of minutes, and we'll come back with a new recording next week. And I think I got an interview. So that'll be good. We got 1 more minute left, and the chat room is going crazy. We've got quite a few people at the moment. So thank you again, Katie. I'll post your name and information on Twitter, and we're almost done here. Almost 1 more minute. And of course, my name, again, is DJ Chris. You can email me at djchris@targetedwest.com if you want to be on the call, or if you have any comments. That would be great. I would appreciate it. And getting ready to shut the recording off in just a moment. We're at 6:59 now, and I'll be turning off in just a moment, and then we'll let you continue talking and talk more about Dr. Hoffer and about Katie's situation, and people want to ask questions about it. And again, thank you for watching on your preferred platform.